Hi, and welcome back to the second part of Lesson 1 of the Tailoring Thesis Like a Pro tutorial series. In the second part of the lesson, we'll look at the Thesis CSS file structure. So the first thing I want you to do is open up your FTP client and log on to your website. Okay, so we'll just make sure that we're logged on. Connecting up. Okay, and if you have followed my synchronization system, your local file structure and your remote file structure will be the same here. Okay, so let's go over to Themes and Thesis 1.6. And if we scroll down here towards the bottom, you'll see this Style CSS file. This is the hard-coded CSS that comes with Thesis. And then the other two files that affect the appearance of a Thesis-based site are found in the Custom folder. In the Custom folder, we have Custom CSS, which is where all of our editing will happen. And we have Layout CSS, which is created by Thesis whenever you change options in the design options of the Thesis administration panel. So now that you've seen those files, let's go ahead and open up our local copy of those files. So we'll open up our favorite text editor here. As you can see, I like to use Visual Studio. There are plenty of other good code editors out there. And when we start talking about PHP, I'm actually going to use a different one that is freely available. But for the time being, when we're looking at CSS, I'm just going to use this. I'm just going to use Visual Studio because I'm comfortable with it. So we're going to start off by opening up those files. So I'm going to go over here to where I have that stuff stored under websites. And so I'm going to open up Style CSS. Now, Style CSS, as I said before, is hard-coded. That is, it comes this way out of the box, and it defines those sorts of things which it assumes aren't going to be changed in the design options section. There are lots and lots and lots of different selectors available here. And in the coming lessons, we'll look at how we can adjust some of these selectors. But really, by and large, the majority of these selectors you won't even choose to change because they have more to do with the structure of the website than they do the appearance of the website, generally speaking. Okay, let's open up the next one, and that is up in Custom, and that is Layout CSS. Now, this Layout CSS is written every time you press that big save button, and so it is based either on specific things that you set, such as the color of the text or the width of a column, and then also on formulas that are based off of those. The reason why you don't want to edit this file is because every edit that you would make would get lost once you went and re-saved out of the design options menu. And so we're going to take a look at that here real quick. For example, you can see right now that my content column is set at a width of 51.3 EMs, and that my sidebar's width is 43.5 EMs. If we open up our site, this is a site that I have created specifically for the purpose of this tutorial. We come back over here to our dashboard, and we scroll down to Design Options, and we select Site Layout Columns. If I take this 480 and I make it 600 and hit Save, what's going to happen now is that the Layout CSS will have been rewritten. So if we go down to FileZilla again, or actually let's go down to this version of the layout, just to remind ourselves that the content box width is 51.3 EMs. It's going to be quite a bit larger once we download this file and look at it again. We'll go ahead and close that. We'll open up FileZilla. We will go to Layout CSS and we'll download it. Definitely replace it. Now if we open up Layout CSS again in our code editor, you can see that now content has a width of 63.3 EMs. And these kinds of changes have a way of making their way all the way through this layout. So it's important that you don't make changes in layout CSS, because those changes can be instantly lost. And the final file that you're going to open up is the Custom CSS file. And you can see that in here right now, Custom CSS file has nothing in it except for comments. And that's what's contained between these two marks here. This is the opening comment mark and the closing comment mark. And this just gives you a description of what you might be able to do. And this is where we are going to make all of our changes to the CSS in this Custom CSS folder. Okay, and that wraps up part 2 of lesson 1 of the lesson 1 of the Tailoring Thesis Like a Pro tutorial series. In part 3 of this lesson, we're going to look at a couple of best practices through making some minor changes to CSS.